22 miles. That's the distance between Britain and mainland Europe at its narrowest point. Just 22 miles of water in the English Channel. It doesn't sound like much. You could swim it in good conditions. A fast boat crosses it in minutes. Modern missiles fly over it in seconds. And yet, for over 1,000 years, that narrow strip of water has been Britain's greatest defense. The last successful invasion of England was in 1066, nearly a millennium ago. Since then, the Spanish Armada failed, Napoleon failed, Hitler failed. Every attempt to invade Britain has ended in disaster. But it's not just the water. It's geography, military power, nuclear deterrence, alliances, and strategic positioning that make the UK one of the hardest nations on Earth to successfully invade, even for superpowers. This is why no one can invade the UK, not even if they tried. Let's start with the obvious. Britain is an island. Actually, it's several islands. Great Britain, Northern Ireland sharing the island of Ireland, plus thousands of smaller islands scattered around the coastline. That geography is Britain's first and most fundamental defense. Invading an island is completely different from invading a land-based country. You can't just march troops across a border. You can't move tanks and artillery over land. You can't establish supply lines through friendly or neutral territory. Every single soldier, every vehicle, every bullet has to cross water. And that means ships or aircraft, and both are incredibly vulnerable. The English Channel is 22 miles wide at its narrowest point between Dover and Calais. But here's what matters. It's not calm water. The Channel is one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Currents are strong. Weather changes rapidly. Tides are powerful. Landing troops on a hostile beach is among the most difficult military operations possible. You need air superiority, naval superiority, and incredible coordination. Defenders have every advantage: high ground, prepared positions, artillery pre-registered on landing zones. D-Day in 1944 required years of planning, absolute air and naval supremacy, deception operations, and the largest amphibious force ever assembled, and it still cost thousands of lives. That was invading from Britain toward France. Reversing it, invading Britain from Europe, is exponentially harder. Why? Because Britain's entire military is designed to prevent exactly that. The Royal Navy has been protecting these waters for centuries. Modern Britain maintains continuous patrols, submarine presence, and quick reaction forces specifically positioned to intercept any attempt to cross the Channel. Britain's coastline is over 7,700 miles long when you include all the islands. That's a lot of potential landing sites. But it's also a lot of coastline to defend, and Britain does defend it. Coastal radar installations, offshore patrol vessels, maritime patrol aircraft, satellite surveillance. Britain knows what's happening in its territorial waters at all times. And it's not just military. Britain's coast is rugged, rocky, and difficult. Beaches suitable for large-scale landings are limited, well-known, and heavily monitored. Cliffs, ports, and urban areas dominate much of the coastline. Any invasion force would need to identify suitable landing zones, clear them of defenders, establish beachheads, and build up forces faster than Britain could respond. That's nearly impossible against a prepared, technologically advanced military. But let's say an attacker somehow managed to land troops. Now what? Britain is not a large country, but it's densely populated with excellent infrastructure. Roads, rail, telecommunications, urban areas. Every inch is mapped, monitored, and easily defended. An invader would face urban warfare in cities like London, Birmingham, Manchester, each with millions of people and infrastructure that makes fighting incredibly difficult. You can't just roll tanks through London. Every street is a potential ambush. Every building is a defensive position. And Britain's population, nearly 68 million people, would resist. History shows island nations fight ferociously when invaded. The civilian population knows there's no retreat, no fallback position. It's defend or die. Geography alone doesn't make Britain invincible, But it makes invasion so difficult, so costly, and so risky that even contemplating it requires overwhelming force and near-perfect execution. And we haven't even talked about Britain's military yet. Now we go underwater, to Britain's most powerful defensive weapon, the fleet most attackers would never see coming. Britain operates a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines that would devastate any invasion force long before it reached British shores. As of 2025, the Royal Navy fields 9 submarines, 5 Astute-class nuclear-powered attack submarines, with 2 more, HMS Agamemnon, commissioned in September 2025, and HMS Agincourt, expected in late 2026, completing the 7-boat class. These aren't just submarines. They're underwater apex predators. The Astute class is among the most advanced attack submarines in the world. 97 meters long, 7,400 tons, nuclear-powered with unlimited range, limited only by food and crew endurance. They can operate for 90 days without surfacing, produce their own oxygen and drinking water, and circumnavigate the globe completely submerged. Armament? 6 533mm torpedo tubes, Spearfish heavyweight torpedoes designed to destroy ships and submarines, and Tomahawk Block 4 cruise missiles capable of striking land targets over 1,000 miles away. But the real weapon is stealth. The Astute class is quieter than any previous British submarine. The hull is coated with over 39,000 specialized acoustic tiles that absorb sonar pings. The propulsion system is designed for silent running. These submarines are acoustic ghosts. They're among the best submarine hunters in the world, and the only non-US allied submarines regularly conducting under-ice operations in the Arctic. Now imagine you're planning to invade Britain. You need to move ships across the English Channel or North Sea. Dozens of transport ships carrying troops, vehicles, and supplies. Warships to protect them. And somewhere beneath the waves, an Astute-class submarine is watching. You don't know where, you can't see it, you can't hear it, and it's armed with torpedoes that can sink your ships from miles away. One submarine could devastate an entire invasion fleet. 7 submarines? That's a nightmare scenario for any attacker. But it gets worse. Britain also operates 4 Vanguard-class ballistic missile submarines carrying the UK's nuclear deterrent. These are bigger, longer than a football field, over 15,000 tons, and they carry Trident II D5 nuclear missiles with British warheads. Since 1969, Britain has maintained continuous at-sea deterrence. At every single moment for over 55 years, at least one British submarine has been on patrol somewhere in the world's oceans, invisible, untraceable, and ready to respond to the most extreme threats. This is Operation Relentless, the longest unbroken military operation ever conducted by the UK. No gaps, no interruptions, ever. The message is clear. Even if you somehow conquered Britain, even if you occupied every city and controlled every port, there's still a British submarine out there capable of launching nuclear weapons. You can't win. And Britain is expanding this capability. The June 2025 Strategic Defense Review announced up to 12 new SSN-AUKUS submarines, next-generation attack boats co-developed with the United States and Australia. Production will ramp up to 1 new submarine every 18 months starting in the late 2020s. That's nearly double the current attack submarine fleet. Simultaneously, 4 new Dreadnought-class ballistic missile submarines are under construction to replace the Vanguard class from the early 2030s. These will be the largest and most advanced submarines Britain has ever built. 154 meters long, over 15,000 tons, equipped with the latest stealth technology and weapon systems. The UK is investing £15 billion in its sovereign nuclear warhead program this Parliament. That supports over 9,000 jobs at the atomic weapons establishment and thousands more across the supply chain. This is generational investment in undersea dominance, and it sends a message. Britain's submarine fleet isn't just defending against today's threats, it's preparing for threats decades into the future. Any nation contemplating invading Britain must confront this reality. Silent, nuclear-powered submarines capable of destroying invasion fleets and, if necessary, launching nuclear retaliation. That's not a defense, that's a deterrent so powerful it makes invasion unthinkable. Britain doesn't just defend its shores, it projects power far beyond them. 2 Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers, HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales, each 280 meters long, displacing 65,000 tons, capable of carrying up to 24 F-35B stealth fighters plus helicopters. These aren't just ships, they're floating air bases that can deploy anywhere in the world. In November 2025, HMS Prince of Wales achieved full operating capability with 24 F-35B Lightning II fighters aboard during Exercise Falcon Strike, the largest complement ever assembled on a Queen Elizabeth-class carrier. What does that mean for defense? It means Britain can position a carrier strike group in the North Sea, English Channel, or Atlantic approaches and establish air superiority over the invasion routes. F-35s are 5th-generation stealth fighters, nearly invisible to radar, armed with precision weapons, air-to-air missiles, and advanced sensors. They can intercept enemy aircraft, destroy ships, and strike land targets, all from a mobile platform that's incredibly difficult to attack. But carriers never sail alone. A UK carrier strike group includes Type 45 destroyers providing area air defense with cutting-edge radar and missile systems, Type 23 or Type 26 frigates hunting submarines and providing anti-ship capabilities, Astute-class attack submarines lurking beneath the surface, Royal Fleet auxiliary tankers and supply ships sustaining operations. It's not just a carrier, it's a complete naval task force, one of the most powerful maritime formations on the planet. And here's the strategic implication. An attacker planning to invade Britain would need to neutralize these carriers first. Otherwise, they control the sea and airspace around Britain. But how do you attack a carrier strike group? You need submarines, which British submarines would hunt. You need aircraft, which F-35s and destroyer air defense would intercept. You need long-range missiles, which destroyers are specifically designed to shoot down. Taking out a carrier strike group requires overwhelming force and sophisticated coordination. Few nations have that capability, and those that do would suffer catastrophic losses trying. Britain currently operates both carriers with full air wings. That's 2 separate strike groups that can be deployed simultaneously or surge together for maximum combat power. During Operation High Mast in 2025, HMS Prince of Wales led a multinational carrier strike group across the Mediterranean, Red Sea, and Indo-Pacific, demonstrating exactly this capability. For defense, the implication is clear. Britain can establish layered defenses far from its shores, intercepting threats hundreds of miles away before they ever reach British waters. That's not reactive defense, that's offensive defense, taking the fight to the enemy before they can threaten the homeland. And it's backed by Britain's RAF and Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm, over 100 advanced Typhoon fighters, 48 F-35Bs with more on order, E-7 Wedgetail airborne early warning aircraft, P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft. Britain's air defenses can intercept threats across multiple layers: long-range interception by Typhoons hundreds of miles away, medium-range defense by ship-based missiles, short-range point defense by close-in weapon systems. Any aircraft attempting to support an invasion would face coordinated, networked air defense that's among the most sophisticated in the world. The message? Britain doesn't just defend its shores, it controls the approaches, and any invasion force would be detected, tracked, and destroyed long before reaching British beaches. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the weapon that makes invading Britain not just difficult, but suicidal: nuclear weapons. Britain is one of only 9 nations possessing nuclear weapons, and unlike some nuclear powers with questionable delivery systems, Britain's nuclear deterrent is credible, survivable, and strategically terrifying. The UK maintains a submarine-based nuclear second strike capability. 4 Vanguard-class ballistic missile submarines, each carrying Trident 2D5 missiles with British-designed warheads. At any given moment, at least one submarine is on patrol, hidden in the world's oceans, impossible to track, impossible to target, and ready to launch. This is the ultimate deterrent, because even if an attacker somehow conquered Britain, destroyed its military, occupied its cities, killed its leaders, that submarine is still out there, and it will fire. The logic of nuclear deterrence is simple and brutal. The cost of invading Britain includes the certain destruction of your own country. Not a possibility, a certainty. No rational actor would accept that trade. The gain, occupying Britain, is vastly outweighed by the cost, nuclear annihilation of your own nation. This is why Operation Relentless matters so much. Continuous at-sea deterrence since 1969 means there's never a moment when Britain is vulnerable, never a gap in coverage, never an opportunity to strike without facing retaliation. And Britain is modernizing this capability. 4 new Dreadnought-class submarines under construction to replace the Vanguard class from the early 2030s. In September 2025, King Charles III attended the commissioning of HMS Agamemnon and the steel cutting for HMS King George VI, the 4th Dreadnought-class submarine. The Dreadnought program represents a £15 billion investment in the UK's sovereign nuclear warhead capability, supporting over 9,000 jobs at the atomic weapons establishment and thousands more across the supply chain. This is the most technically advanced submarine program Britain has ever undertaken, more capable, more survivable, and absolutely committed to maintaining Britain's nuclear deterrent for generations to come. But here's the critical point. Britain's nuclear weapons aren't meant to be used. They're meant to prevent scenarios where they might be needed. The existence of the deterrent makes conventional invasion unthinkable, because any nation contemplating invading Britain must confront the reality. You might occupy British territory, but you'll lose your own cities. That's not a military calculation, that's a civilizational calculation, and no nation, however powerful, would willingly accept it. This is why even superpowers don't consider invading Britain. Not because it's militarily impossible, though it nearly is, but because the cost of success is national suicide. Nuclear deterrence works, and Britain's is among the most credible in the world. Britain doesn't defend alone. It's part of the most powerful military alliance in history, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. 32 member nations pledged to collective defense. Attack one, you attack all. Article 5 of the NATO treaty states, an armed attack against one member shall be considered an attack against all. It's been invoked exactly once, after 9/11, when NATO members rallied to support the United States. For Britain, this means any invasion triggers a response from the entire alliance. US forces, French forces, German forces, every NATO member. An attacker wouldn't just face Britain's military, they'd face American carrier strike groups, French nuclear submarines, German air power, Polish armored divisions, and forces from 30-plus nations. That's not a war, that's a global conflict, and no rational actor wants that. But Britain's role in NATO goes beyond receiving protection. Britain offers almost all of its armed forces to NATO warfighting plans. British carriers command NATO maritime task forces. RAF jets defend alliance airspace from Iceland to Romania. Royal Navy submarines conduct missions supporting NATO objectives. Britain leads NATO's standing maritime groups, rotating naval formations patrolling alliance waters year-round. Britain provides rapid reaction forces positioned to deploy anywhere in NATO territory within hours. This isn't just alliance membership, it's alliance leadership. And then there's the US-UK special relationship. It's not just diplomatic rhetoric, it's deep operational military integration. Britain is the only Tier 1 partner on the F-35 program, deeply involved in development, manufacturing, and systems integration. British and American submarines operate seamlessly together, sharing intelligence and conducting joint operations. The AUKUS partnership, UK, US, Australia, includes shared nuclear submarine technology, joint development of advanced weapons, and intelligence cooperation. American bases in Britain include RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall, RAF Fairford, and RAF Croughton, critical nodes in US power projection across Europe and the Middle East. Britain hosts US intelligence facilities, provides staging areas for American forces, and maintains interoperability that allows British and American units to fight together with minimal coordination friction. The practical implication? Any nation attacking Britain doesn't just face British forces, they face the combined might of the UK-US partnership, backed by the full weight of NATO. That's not a defensive alliance. That's an overwhelming coalition that would crush any aggressor. Consider the force multipliers. American satellite intelligence enhances British targeting. British submarine operations extend US undersea reach. Shared logistics networks enable rapid deployment. Joint training ensures tactical coordination. An attacker must overcome not just British defenses, but American reinforcements flowing through British ports and air bases. They must neutralize British carriers while American carriers position nearby. They must defeat British submarines while American attack submarines hunt their forces. It's an impossible military problem, and it gets worse. NATO's collective GDP exceeds $45 trillion. The alliance includes 3 nuclear powers: US, UK, France. Military spending across NATO exceeds $1.3 trillion annually, more than the next dozen countries combined. Attacking Britain means fighting the richest, most technologically advanced, most militarily capable alliance in human history. No nation, not China, not Russia, not anyone, has the capability to successfully invade a NATO member without triggering World War III. And that's the point. NATO exists to make war unthinkable, and for Britain, it's the ultimate security guarantee. Britain's defense extends far beyond its shores. It's supported by a global network of bases, facilities, and strategic partnerships. Britain maintains permanent joint operating bases on 4 overseas territories: Cyprus, Gibraltar, the Falkland Islands, and Diego Garcia. These aren't just symbolic presences, they're fully operational military installations, enabling Britain to project power globally and monitor threats before they reach British territory. Cyprus. Sovereign base areas at Akrotiri and Dhekelia. RAF Akrotiri hosts Typhoon fighters, F-35s, reconnaissance aircraft, and serves as Britain's forward operating base for Middle East operations. It's perfectly positioned to monitor threats from North Africa, the Eastern Mediterranean, and the Middle East. Gibraltar, the gateway to the Mediterranean. A British territory since 1713, Gibraltar provides strategic control over one of the world's most important maritime choke points. Naval facilities, radar installations, and monitoring stations track every vessel entering or leaving the Mediterranean. The Falkland Islands, South Atlantic outpost. RAF Mount Pleasant provides air defense for the South Atlantic, monitoring capabilities across a vast maritime region, and staging areas for Antarctic operations. Britain learned in 1982 that defending distant territories requires permanent presence, and maintains it. This unified command coordinates offensive cyber operations, electronic warfare, and information operations. It's not just defensive. Britain is developing capabilities to disrupt adversary networks, degrade enemy command systems, and conduct cyber attacks that prevent threats from materializing. The digital targeting web, another £1 billion capability, integrates sensors, shooters, and cyber operators into one networked system. AI-enabled targeting connects ships, aircraft, satellites, drones, and cyber units in real time. This is next-generation warfare, and Britain is investing heavily to dominate this domain. But challenges remain. Recruiting cyber talent is difficult. Retention is harder. Private sector salaries exceed military pay. Skill shortages threaten capability development. Britain's infrastructure, power grids, telecommunications, transportation networks faces persistent threats from state and non-state actors. Protecting these systems requires constant vigilance and massive investment. The reality is this: Britain is extremely difficult to invade conventionally, but hybrid threats, cyber attacks, infrastructure sabotage, information warfare pose serious risks. Britain's response is evolving. Cyber defenses are strengthening. Offensive capabilities are developing. Critical infrastructure is hardening. But it's a race. Adversaries are innovating, testing, probing, and Britain must adapt faster than threats evolve. The good news? Britain recognizes the threat and is allocating resources to address it. The June 2025 Strategic Defense Review prioritizes cyber and hybrid warfare, committing billions to capabilities that didn't exist a decade ago. Traditional military invasion remains nearly impossible. Hybrid threats are the real challenge, and Britain is fighting back. So let's bring it all together. Why can't anyone invade the UK, not even superpowers? Geography. 22 miles of water in the English Channel, over 7,700 miles of coastline, an island nation with natural defenses that force attackers to cross hostile seas against prepared defenders. Submarines. 9 nuclear-powered submarines, soon to be 12 or more, capable of destroying invasion fleets and launching nuclear retaliation. Continuous at-sea deterrence, maintained unbroken for over 55 years. Carriers. 2 Queen Elizabeth-class supercarriers with full F-35B air wings, capable of establishing air and sea superiority hundreds of miles from British shores. Nuclear weapons. A credible, survivable nuclear deterrent that makes invading Britain tantamount to national suicide. 4 Vanguard-class submarines being replaced by 4 advanced Dreadnought-class boats backed by £15 billion in warhead investment. NATO, the most powerful military alliance in history. Article 5 collective defense means attacking Britain triggers war with the United States, France, Germany, and 28 other nations. Global reach. Permanent bases in Cyprus, Gibraltar, Diego Garcia, and the Falklands. Over 145 installations across 42 countries. Intelligence networks spanning the globe. Technology. Advanced cyber warfare capabilities, electronic attack systems, AI-enabled targeting, and integration across all domains: land, sea, air, space, and cyber. Will. A population of 68 million people on an island with no fallback position. History shows island nations fight ferociously when invaded. Britain would resist with every resource available. These aren't theoretical defenses. They're operational capabilities backed by £70+ billion in annual defense spending, 180,000+ military personnel, and political commitment to maintaining security. The June 2025 Strategic Defense Review commits to raising defense spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2027, with ambitions for 3%. That's the largest sustained defense increase since the Cold War. 30,000 new defense jobs, 12 new attack submarines, expanded cyber capabilities, increased ammunition production, enhanced alliance integration. Britain is not static. It's adapting, modernizing, and preparing for future threats. Could a superpower technically defeat Britain in total war? Perhaps, if they were willing to accept catastrophic losses, nuclear retaliation, and global conflict with NATO. But that's not invasion. That's mutual destruction, and no rational actor chooses that. The last successful invasion of England was 1066, nearly 1,000 years ago. Since then, every attempt has failed. The Spanish Armada in 1588, destroyed by weather and British tactics. Napoleon's planned invasion in 1805 never materialized because the Royal Navy controlled the seas. Hitler's Operation Sea Lion in 1940, canceled after the Luftwaffe failed to achieve air superiority in the Battle of Britain. Every failure shares common elements: Britain's geography, naval power, air defense, and will to resist. Those elements remain, enhanced by technology, backed by nuclear weapons, integrated into the strongest alliance in history. This is why no one can invade the UK. Not Russia, not China, not anyone. The cost is too high. The defenses are too strong. The deterrents are too credible. Britain's security isn't guaranteed by any single factor. It's the combination: geography, military power, technology, alliances, nuclear weapons, global reach, and political will that makes invasion unthinkable. And in an uncertain world where threats are evolving and competition is intensifying, Britain is strengthening every element of that defense. More submarines, more carriers, more cyber capabilities, more alliance integration, more investment. The strategic message is clear. Britain is not a target. It's a fortress, and it will remain one for generations to come. That's not arrogance, it's reality, backed by history, technology, and overwhelming military capability. This is why no one can invade the UK, not even superpowers. If this breakdown opened your eyes to Britain's multi-layered defenses, hit subscribe. Drop a comment. What surprised you most? The submarine fleet's continuous deterrent patrols? The carrier strike groups? The nuclear deterrent? The global network of bases? We're diving deep into military strategy, defense technology, and how nations protect themselves in the modern world. This is why Britain is uninvadable. The geography, the military power, the alliances, the nuclear deterrent. And now you understand exactly how it all works together.